Thought we already done 24. We did.
This will be on the court.
At this time, I'm gonna call the Wednesday, April 30th, 2025, meeting/work session of the Banks County Board of Commissioners to order. Need approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion from Chris, second by Danny to approve the agenda. Any discussion? Keith?
Aye.
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 Agenda is approved. Next up's budget.
Yeah,
Mr.
we got the additional information from Maggie on the court administrator. We were looking at page 24, and we were down on the court appointed attorney on juvenile court. We were thinking about possibly going with 61,000. Of course, all of you read the email that she just sent back from the judge, and he's stating that we should, instead of leaving it at 61, that he suggested us going back to 82,000.
And my question was, is this, like we talked about yesterday, who sets this budget? It's like we've lost a little bit of control on setting this budget. We just have to pay 17.5% of whatever is handed to us. But in the email, it mentioned a proposed pay increase or proposed raise. So I don't know if that's something we're locked into, or.
I don't know where we're at.
So I would probably like to chase that down just a little bit more.
Okay. But we can go ahead and we can go ahead and bring the court reporter down if you like. You know, she actually wanted to bring that down to just
Yep.
$1,000.
Yep.
Which one?
Court reporter. I guess I guess you'd have to touch bases with the judge that she talked to get some guidance on that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and just, like I say, my question would be, is this a raise that's already occurred and is set in stone, or?
Did we ever find out what they're currently getting paid?
It was 57 to 77, correct?
57, if that's correct, and going to 77.
And that's the one they had on here where they requested 80,000.
Mm-hmm.
We originally had 80, then we thought we'd come down to 61, and according to her email that we just received today, the judge recommended going to 82.
So I'd just like to email back and ask, is this a raise that's already occurred and is set in stone, or
Okay.
what's the situation?
I can certainly do that, that's not a problem.
Thank you.
Might not be today, because she's not in the office today.
Yeah.
Quick as possible.
Did you say the judge recommended 80 or 82?
82.
82.
Yeah, because the actual was the 61,044.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll go to 82,409.
Okay. We can move on to the district attorney's office. Thank you for coming.
Oh, sir.
And that's on page 27.
27.
Come on, Bo, just join us when you can.
Well,
He's been to Walmart.
yeah. He been to Ingles.
He brought us that quarter on
All right, page 27, district attorney. He's
Right
ready.
now, we have the victim service coordinator, assistant district attorney, admin assistant, paralegal. Was the same amounts that you had discussed with Arlen.
Right.
That has not changed. We got the Mountain Judicial Circuit that's going to be billing us approximately, according to what they was telling us, 18,523. So the only thing that I know at this time, unless the commissioners decide otherwise, the group insurance will probably change, because we don't have a set amount for that yet. We're trying to add family coverage onto that as well. But as far as I know, the life insurance, short-term disability, and Social Security will probably change it as well, a little bit, not much. I don't know if you have any questions on that first page or not.
See, we've gone from 69 to 85 on the assistant district attorney. I feel like I remember some conversation about that last year.
That's right. Ray Mayer in order, this goes back. Ray Mayer was an ADA in Raven County. He came out of retirement to work for us up there for a couple of years, went back into retirement. We were able to lure him back out to help us out down here. I don't know how long he'll stay in this position, but in order to obtain and retain ADAs, we have to have salaries that will do that. Currently, for example, we have 2 openings in Raven County, 2 ADA positions in Raven County. Our juvenile court prosecutor is going to take the bench. She's going to become the juvenile court judge May the 1st. So that'll open up that position. But thank goodness I have a lawyer who's in private practice in Toccoa who is going to come on board in that position June 1st.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll only have to cover that for a month. But this past legislative session, the General Assembly bumped up starting salary for state-paid ADAs coming out of law school, for example, to, if I'm not mistaken, because I haven't seen the printout yet, but I'm told to $72,000, which is really good for us in trying to recruit people out of school, even though they have huge debt coming out of law school. And this is kind of a side note, and if you have the time, I'll go into it. You know, we had asked when all the discussion started 3 or 4 years ago about Banks County coming into the mountain circuit. I communicated quite frequently with our legislators, the senator and the 2 representatives, about including a state-paid ADA position and a state support staff position, and similar positions for the public defender's office. Well, it didn't come to fruition in the legislation. So this past legislative session, Senator Hatchett has been working on trying to obtain that. It didn't come to fruition through the legislature, but it was kind of in a sideways, put back on the prosecuting attorney's council that if you can figure out a way, then do it. I met with the district attorney's council yesterday and made that proposal to fund an additional ADA position here in Banks County, and they tabled it, and I'm not going to go into the discussions about why, but it has broad range ramifications if they were to do something like that statewide with all the DA's offices, and I mean, it makes perfect sense from that perspective. So I think what's going to happen come January, what we'll do is, or in July when the legislature comes back into session in the fall, we're going to try to get the 2 representatives and Senator Hatchett and a couple of other circuits have similar issues, their representatives and senators to try to get a bill be considered that would facilitate us getting an ADA. Right now, it just doesn't meet the statutory formula for obtaining another state-paid ADA, and the Senate just balked on that. So,
And that wouldn't replace
no,
the ADA, that
no,
would just help. Yep.
And I don't want to go into too much detail. I'll certainly talk to you individually, but right now, when January 1 we came on board, there I had this information for yesterday's meeting. We had 830 open cases that we took on. 308 of them were already formally charged, split between felonies and misdemeanors. 522 uncharged. I looked at last year's numbers, how many cases were coming in per month, and compared them to the first 4 months of this year. And last year, about 55 per month new cases were coming in. So far, the first 4 months, 79 cases per month. So we don't control that, who gets arrested, who commits crimes, things of that nature. But the numbers are such that, and I've mentioned this before, Banks County is a 2 ADA office. But we've got backlog to deal with, and we have new cases coming in. And the older cases get, the worse off they are in terms of prosecution. Because life happens and witnesses die, things change. And so to get on top of it, we need a second ADA. And hopefully we can get that through the legislature. So when we start pushing for that, I'll certainly enlist you to contact our representative here, see if he can't get on board as well.
We'll do that.
I think really the only thing we requested differently in the budget is on page 28, we bumped up the education training $300 from 200 to 500. We requested, and then the general supplies because it's the same. Okay. Office equipment.
Actually, came down on
Oh,
the.
okay.
Probably the copy machine.
Right, okay, came down a little bit on that, so the office equipment lease. So we're basically where we were last year.
With the acceptance of the ADA raise and then the paralegal, correct?
Right. And we appreciate y'all's support, and we're committed to doing our work, and we like having, really, I don't just say that. I enjoy coming down here. Y'all are very friendly and appreciative of us, and Arlene and Randy have been great to help get us started. And anyway, we appreciate your support, and we're going to keep hammering away, and we'll get there eventually. It's just going to take a while.
So what did we say on the educated training, you need to increase that?
It went to 500.
Increase of $300.
We're
to
not
500,
increasing it.
Yes.
Which is on ours.
That's it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking.
So I noticed on this one, a lot of the time, the other courts, the Mountain Judicial Circuit pulled some line items into that Mountain Judicial line item. We didn't have that effect here. Is that correct, Randy?
That is correct. We added that. I'm not exactly sure of what they're considering as, or the expense-wise to us on that. We've just gotten a total. I don't know, would you?
I don't know. I know with respect to our office, one of the things that I'm guessing, and I don't want to guess or speculate, but I imagine it might very well be in there, is that historically, I don't know why, but historically, going back even before I was district attorney, when Brian Rickman was district attorney, so we're talking about going back 15 years or more, Raven County supplied a vehicle to the district attorney and gasoline, and then also the DA had access to gasoline through Habersham County. So one of the things that was discussed, excuse me, is that with Banks County coming in, it might be a good time to spread that cost over all 4 counties, since I'm in all 4 counties on a regular basis. And we've shifted work on that car from Raven to Habersham to facilitate paperwork, so there's not more paperwork involved in that. And I'm using exclusively the pumps in Habersham County, so there's not that paperwork from Raven to Habersham pad. They can have it all in-house. So that might be part of it.
It might be.
I don't know.
See, they've got it listed here, it's like the district attorney for the 4 different counties, $105,848, and we get a certain percentage of charging us 17.5. That's why I come up with the 18.
Okay.
Now, what it entails, I really don't know.
Yeah,
Who
So I've
furnishes
got
the
the
car?
district attorney budget, it looks like from last year because we're not included in it. But it's got, salary for Patterson is all it says. Then supplement for Pearson. There's health, life, FICA, workers' comp, vision, dental, telephone for a head investigator, and then gas, oil for district attorney, and it also, beside that, says head investigator Megan Lewis. And then vehicle parts, repair, maintenance. So some of that is the vehicle and repair and stuff, but there's also some Patterson and Pearson. What would that correlate to?
Lori Pearson is our juvenile court prosecutor, and she is in all 4 counties.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a state vehicle, a pool vehicle that they use as frequently as they're able, because other people have access to it as well. So that was cost savings to everybody from the county perspective. And who was the other person?
Well, was that Pearson or Patterson?
Okay, Lori Pearson, she's the ADA.
Th-
Katie Patterson is the investigator slash assistant to Lori Pearson. So she's in all 4 counties, and I don't know what aspect of her that might apply to unless it's mileage. I know sometimes
It's
she-
got her salary in that circuit-wide
okay.
budget.
And may very well be. So that may
Okay,
very
and
well
then it's
be.
got a supplement for Pearson in the circuit-wide
Right.
budget of 12,000.
Right.
And then it's got, I'm assuming their health insurance and FICA and all that down through there.
Well, Lori Pearson is a state employee, so all that would be through the state.
Okay.
Katie Patterson is a county employee.
Well, they've got $27,000 there for health and life insurance. And like I say, I think this is last year's budget, Randy. Could you get us have them send us this upcoming fiscal year proposed budget for these? Because all we've got that's current to this year, I think, is just total numbers and then county breakdowns.
Right. We do. We try to
So
replace
see if-
that. I'm
see
sure
if-
it's
Give
all
us
salaries.
itemized.
Yeah,
on
see if
that
they'll get us
specific
current line item budget
line item.
for the district-wide stuff or circuit-wide stuff. But other than that, y'all got any more questions?
Not at the moment.
All right,
All right.
thank you.
Good. Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Joe.
I'll get, I can get Chad in here now.
He's sitting right there.
You got the printouts, right? All right, good deal.
What page?
Yeah, I know. Yep.
Won't be down at the back.
Yeah.
I guess, come on, we
Yeah.
gotta get this shit. Not exactly more.
You're gonna be starting on page 48. That's gonna be wastewater.
48.
I guess, are we at full staff with wastewater right now? Or,
Yes.
uh,
Now, we didn't hire, and I chose not to put in for the extra positions because of the plant not being online.
okay, because I know I worked with Arlene on the salaries here, but I'm not quite sure of how many people you've got,
What page?
for 48, for, like maintenance. How many people are in this figure right here?
So we've got Currently, we've got 4 in wastewater.
Currently, we got 4,
Yes.
and then the department head is,
Well, it's 3 and then the department head.
3, and then the department head.
Yes, sir.
And what's?
Rebecca.
Rebecca, we got Rebecca in here, oh, okay, good deal. Then we got a certain amount of overtime that we've got in there. Group insurance, I was gonna mention everybody, that's probably gonna change, because we're not exactly sure how much it's gonna be. We're working on trying to work in some family coverage and things of that nature, so that's probably gonna change. Life insurance, short-term disability, probably pretty much stay the same. Social Security, probably won't change a whole lot based on that the salaries are correct up here, and if the commissioners decide any changes are to be made. The retirement pretty much is set. Now, testing, we got in, looks like you brought that down from the previous year's budget. Are you comfortable with that, or?
Yes. And the reason for that, I was taking a look over the previous year's samples, the samples that need to be around, the samples that we run for like quality assurance. And I'm also in the process of taking a look at how we're getting our samples. And there's possibly a way to get some savings on where our samples are actually being ran. So looking into a few different things there. So my target is less because I want it to be less.
The commissioners, looking at that.
We ain't done that.
The professional, what is exactly, is that just the professional fees that's in there? I know we had 1,000 last year. We didn't budget any, we didn't have any expenses of the previous year. We haven't had any this year. Does it even need to be in there for some reason?
That's a question that, I mean, I should have asked that before now, but I've noticed that, and, you know, typically professionals like professional services, like you've got to get somebody to come in and do something like an independent third party to come in, but I've not seen where that's actually been used, so that's an
Come out.
item that could come out.
Technical, we got, we're already at 18. Think you can get away with 1,000 on that?
Yes.
No, we had 1,600 before, we're down at 18, we budgeted 2, but you're bringing it down as, for the same particular reason, because you can. Now, you got more expertise in this garbage and sludge pickup, I don't know where we stand on that.
So that hasn't changed. There hasn't really been any rate increase for that, so that's pretty much going to stay close to the same.
Got any idea why we had hit 17 in February? I know you wasn't here, but what could cause that?
So for that, if it was a previous invoice for possibly getting the lagoons cleaned out, that's the only thing I can think of for that.
Because really, that's the only time, I know garbage is kind of tied in with this, so we've got our regular garbage getting, but sludge pickup, without that plant running, we're not doing that on a regular basis right now, are we?
And you have, you know, screenings and stuff that come off the plant, but that's still a small number.
I bet you're right. I bet he hit that line item when they had to have the grease pumped out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had that little
Episode.
episode.
Do you foresee having to have the lagoons cleaned out this coming year?
Not this fiscal year.
Will we have any, up at the waterfront? Have anything up there this fiscal year?
I don't see that this fiscal year for the ponds, because that.
Either one.
Just been.
So, I mean, if would we ever get surprised with a lagoon clean out? Or is that something?
If we were to get some kind of unforeseen load drop, there's the potential where we would have to do that, but it's going to be very slim. It'd be extremely rare.
Would 20 do that?
Yes.
As a backup, let's just
Hopefully,
leave it.
whoever
It's kind of a
dropped
safety.
that load would pick that load back up, be responsible and held responsible to pick that load back up. That's what our hope would be. Instead of having another party come in
And have to pay them to do
and
it.
have to pay them extra to
Double
do
pay.
it, just
Mhm.
because.
Yep.
This one's a little sore subject for me.
So knowing what we probably think contributed to that 17, and knowing under normal circumstances we can operate around 2, you don't take that to 10, that still leaves some breathing room in case we have to have something pumped.
Absolutely. Don't you think, Chad?
I would agree with that.
Now that because I had that 17 circled as what happened there, but I guarantee you that's what it was.
100%. The numbers, I just kind of run the numbers
Yeah.
through my head. The numbers work.
Yep.
So we're just gonna go ahead and take that 20 back to
We'll
10.
put it at 10, yeah. All right. Tires and tubes looks good. How many trucks are under wastewater?
So wastewater, we've got 3 that, we've got 3 that are used on a consistent basis. One primarily for pulling the trailer to cut the field,
Mhm.
landscaping and such on the spray fields. And then another for checking the lift stations and going around and collecting the samples and such. So we've got the 2007 F-250. That one is the one that is pulling the trailer and pulling the tractor and all that good stuff. The 2022 was actually purchased for that. However, whoever spec'd the truck out in 2022 didn't do that correctly.
Don't pull real good.
Remember this conversation from
Yeah.
2022?
Yeah.
And we thought we should have got a four-wheel drive.
Mhm.
Right.
So that truck has not been of much use to it.
Mhm.
So I'm working on seeing if there's another place where we could use that in the department, kind of repurpose it, because I don't like it just sitting.
If it's useless, let's surplus it and get something we can use.
As a game, how many miles ago?
3,000.
So.
Let's
Brand new truck.
We don't need that somewhere. Let's
Well,
surplus it. and
either
get something we
surplus
can
it,
use.
but I mean, it might, yeah, it may be something.
Or something.
Randy, is there a time limit on SPOS funds when you buy something with SPOS funds before you can sell it and put the money back into,
I don't think so. Something like that,
What is it? How big is the truck?
it's an F-250.
It's a 250.
Single cab
But it's
F-250.
not, but it's not a four-wheel drive.
It's not a
Four-wheel drive, and it's got
Oh,
the
it's a single
smaller,
cab.
smaller V8.
Road department could usually cut several there that have got over 200,000.
200,000 on it.
But we were kind of leaning towards taking them towards utility bids. Is that not what they wanted, to kind of keep, where they could keep their tools in there? I mean, I'm sure they could use it, but is it ideal? You know what I mean? Didn't Mike come in here and say he'd like to kind of transition everything he's got to utility bids?
Maintenance trucks. It ain't four-wheel drive.
They've gotta have four-wheel drive going in and out of the spray field.
He's saying if we need it at maintenance, but
Maintenance.
if it's not getting used there, let's get something that can be used there and get that now.
Any truck.
Yeah.
Over 400,000.
Why not swap it and surplus it? That's what I'm saying.
It's ridiculous that we're sitting here having this
Yeah,
conversation.
it is, cause we should have held our feet on four-wheel drive.
Anyway,
So we'll work on
We'll
that. We'll
work
come
on
back
that.
to that.
Moving
Add
on.
that to our maybe agenda list is,
You asked around who needs
Make
one.
that
Switching
Kenny
trucks
could
around
use
on
it.
the list.
I mean,
I don't know that Kenny will want a 250.
I don't either.
I don't think,
I don't know that he needs a 250.
I mean, it's just, I just don't think he'd want
All
one.
right, carrying on.
But if he wants one, we'll get it.
Where are we at? We were at tires and tubes, so we're good on tires and tubes.
Yes.
Building we're good on. Vehicle and equipment, do we have any foreseen issues or?
Not currently. Like I said, the F-250 that they are using is higher mileage, but, I mean, it's still in pretty good condition. And then the other truck that they use for everything else, it's around 130, but it's still in good condition. So
Okay.
I don't foresee anything right now with the way they're currently running.
I'm good at 25 there, just 'cause we got them older ones, but it don't take long with F-250s, eat up $2,500.
No, and, well, you got tires and tubes.
Mm-hmm,
I mean, they use these things.
yep. All right, moving right along, small equipment. What kind of things is typically come out of that line item, do we know?
Weed eater.
Typically, it's like a weed eater or trash pump, you know, just smaller things of that nature. Quick cut saws, your, really your smaller, we don't have any push mowers, but for the most part, just your weed eaters and saws and things like that.
Okay.
And I'm assuming none of that can be bought with floss bow?
No, not small stuff, no.
Not none of that small.
Oh, spray field maintenance, is that just the, cutting, is that parts and pieces, or?
It's a little bit of everything combined into that one, so it's, you know, actually maintaining it, but then it's, you know, when the heads have an issue, freeze, bust, pop off,
Mhm.
lines, you know, just essentially keeping it going, so it's like operations.
Okay,
They've been doing an incredible job keeping that cut down. It's just, compared to what we had to go through to get it.
mm-hmm.
It's great.
Plant equipment, good there. Maintenance. Travel, dues, training, y'all see any issues all the way down the page there?
I mean, everything I see, I like.
Me too. How many other departments you want?
There's chemical lab supplies, did I get that in there right?
I'm just waiting
Labs
for the
supply?
big.
Yes.
So, okay,
That's gotta
And
be a miss.
What?
the reason
Energy and
for that
electric.
was with the new plant coming online.
I got you.
No, so what this Chem Lab Supplies was, that's how much they had envisioned it costing to supply chemical to that plant. And that plant's gonna be expensive, like, it ain't just them payments, that sucker gonna drink money.
So is this just brought down until the plant comes online?
Yeah, I mean, once plant comes online, that's going right back up.
Do we not think that,
It ain't happening this year.
I mean,
Yeah,
you don't
but
think
this
it'll come
one,
online
we're
within
trying
12
to put it
months?
Next year,
It's not-
that's
it won't
another
come
year.
online.
You don't think so?
I'm an optimist, but even with my optimistic outlook with correspondence that I'm having, I don't see much movement. Matter of fact, there's been no movement right now. They're still waiting to hear back from the Corps.
And that meeting, I think you were here when Joe was here, and they said even from the time said go, we're still looking at least 12 months from the time Army Corps of Engineers turned us loose. So,
But even still, you know, I've spoken with the staff about that. We're gonna work on, that operating budget for the new plant to be significantly less. There's a lot of like extra things that they've kind of put in that suggesting you use, but there's also other ways of doing it. So
mhm.
when it does come online, I'm really hoping to, get that number down.
Thank God for the Hudson River wastewater treatment plant.
Somewhere, somebody dropped the ball,
Mm-hmm.
and it's costing this county hundreds of thousands of dollars.
She gonna be expensive, that's for sure.
Is this gonna be, are you gonna be able to even
It's time we find out who,
operate some
We
of the
know.
equipment on
We-
a
how,
weekly basis?
why.
As far as the equipment goes, I think that Chris had mentioned that one time about making sure that things just don't sit idle. Is it gonna be where you can at least fire it up every on a weekly basis and, or not? And then the warranty, I think you mentioned about the warranty, about the equipment as well.
It will be, but I've been continually pushing back because regardless of what happened, Banks County is the client in the situation, and we haven't really been treated like the client, you know, so the folks kind of out there, managing the project, so to speak, have not really had our best interest in mind. They've been worried about other folks, and so I keep putting it back on them that, yes, the plan is done, but the project itself is not done. And it's my recommendation that we don't take anything over until we can see some daylight at the end of the tunnel. And if things are out of warranty and things are not working, you know,
That's their problem, not ours.
it's gonna be their problem, not ours.
Currently, do we owe anybody any more money?
There's some left on the contract once the piping is finished. Far as I know, Reeves and Young has been paid out just about everything. There's a little bit held until like full startup. And all this, I mean, we hadn't cut a big check. Well, the material storage for all the pipe that is on the ground, stored on our property, that's been paid for. But far as installing anything like that, it hadn't been paid for. So,
I've never heard anything.
that's wild. But, and
It makes you wonder who is pushing the Army Corps on pushing back on us.
Well, nobody's pushing back. It's just some errors made
Well,
along the
I'm
way.
telling you,
But I don't know who could, where do we,
politics is pretty strong, boys, when it comes to something like that.
mhm.
I'm telling you, the pushback.
moving right along.
Page 51, we're on, I guess the only change that's going to be made on the wastewater was the sludge pickup would change to $10,000. Is that correct?
Wait a minute,
10,000.
hold on.
Oh, you've
You
jumped.
jump in the
Yeah.
water. Well, let's go back just a minute and make note of the fact that our previous budget for this was $1,213,548.
Now it's $462,493.
Yeah. We did.
And now cause we talked on some of this, we'll have to go back up once the plant's online.
But then that plan will be generating revenue.
But listen, in your estimation, all them employees we had piled in there, and from what we have been told by some other sources, we don't need that many more extra people to run that plant. So that chem supply's going up, the power bill's going up, but that employee cost shouldn't have to jump like it did. So we should be able to keep that cost pulled out, even when the plant's online, so. So that will go up once the plant's online, but that labor cost of $415,000 ain't gonna be there. It'll
This is
still
the
be there.
reason that it's so important to get things done right on the front side, like our argument we had about the fire department, you know, go ahead and start this. We've gotta have,
You gotta know the
we
whole
gotta know
picture
the
before you
whole
go.
picture, you know, because in everything, including location apparently, on things that we do, have gotta be thought through from start to finish.
Before we go take our picture with a gold shovel in our hand.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Anytime going forward, we gotta know what the end result is before we even start.
Alright, but yeah, that one's way down.
So we're taking out the professional fees to zero and reducing the sludge to 10,000.
Yep. Water admin,
Page
What page is it?
51.
51.
That's all about the same. Come down a little bit on overtime. Insurance, we gotta see what we got going on there. So that whole first page is about set. Pulling out audit fees. Do we need that professional line item there?
There again, I've not seen that be used, so I think we could cut that.
Okay. Technical, you think you foresee anything there,
Not really, because if there's something big taking place that's gonna be tied to a project, and that technical fee is gonna be associated with that project. So,
okay,
I do not have a need for that.
all right.
I think the ladies down there have already got up, do they have all they need as far as the computers and you know,
Yes.
things that they've changed around?
Yes, yeah, we have,
And software, the software all comes.
I
from
got one.
Worksession
I just
for the
looked.
most part.
they've all been swapped out. So.
Okay.
What?
Copier, they got a copier. $1,450.
Tires and tubes, how many trucks are with that department?
Two, and one of them just got tires, brakes, all that good stuff done to it. That's Jackie's truck. And then the other one is good still, so.
Okay.
So that's in the, they've just got it done recently.
As
So-
of like about a month ago.
Oh, so it'll be in this budget here, we
Yeah.
have it. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
He just rides by now. He don't have to do as much stopping and getting out.
Mm-hmm.
His brakes ought to be
will
good.
last a lot longer.
His brakes ought to be good.
Brakes will be good for 2 more fiscal years.
Good there, good there. What is this water collection fees line item?
Water collection fees.
It's only $200, but. Randy, you got any idea what
So-
that would be?
I asked about that, and what I was told previously was there was something for if we had to, we had somebody, you know, egregiously
Had to send them with
go out
collections or
and
something.
send them collections or something of that nature. But I've not seen that
We-
being used.
We have, it's used, probably not gonna be used, but we do have the capability to send it to a collection.
Okay,
And they get a percentage of it, but as you can see, last year we did not have any expenses, we hadn't got any yet. And more than likely, if you, I mean, you can reduce it to $100, just have people line up. If you want to.
all right. We'll do that. Advertising, what kind of advertising would we have to do?
So that would be in the event of, you know, let's say there was a spill on the wastewater side and you have to go out and put signs up, put ad in the paper.
Okay.
Or in the event of, you know, issue on the water side where, you know, there's boil water advisory or something more long-term that you'd have to put something out in the paper.
Okay.
Had to slap it on the radio, newspaper. and all that.
Exactly. It's typically for that.
Don't you have to, advertise one call in your meeting?
Well, we put that on our website and then we submit it to the EPT. I don't know about if there's another publication that would go in, but typically our website suffices for that.
Bill collections, I don't get passed on, but
Is your
It
phone
is, but
ringing?
you have to pay for it up front.
I feel the phone buzzing.
They
Maybe
just-
it's
they
Jeannie's.
charge a fee. Is it you?
No, it ain't me.
What?
Is your phone vibrating? There's a hidden phone up here somewhere. I can feel your phone all the way down here. I can feel it through my elbow.
every time yours
That's
buzzes,
wild.
mine does.
We're connected. It's like we're one.
Going to-
You and Bo?
No,
Mo and Danny.
Hey, he is feeling your phone vibrate.
Yeah.
Every time yours vibrates, you can feel it all the way down the counter, can't you, Keith? I'm getting them spam phone calls.
Okay. Travel, dues and fees, education, license. What kind of licenses would come out of that? Is that, I think we talked, you were gonna try to get one of the employees licensed on something.
Yes.
Okay. All right, general supplies. Y'all got any questions on that page? There's your copy machine, Chris.
I seen it.
office expense, what's typically out of that line item?
So for that one, the South data comes out of that. So paying the billing side of things, that comes out of that. And
Postage, I'm sure.
Postage and that. I remember there's one more thing that comes out of that. Historically, it seems like it's been around 20 to 25,000. No, previous, it was 34, so I dropped that down because I didn't really foresee a reason for it to go up. But we do have actuals in the 20 range.
We have an option for people to go paperless on their water bills.
We
That don't work for all of our population.
No, I know
though.
it doesn't, but we
Yeah.
should probably encourage that as much as we
Mhm.
could, and then that would kind of cut down on a little bit of cost. Not much, but
We are encouraging that as well as ACH. So that's, we encourage that daily with folks.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it costs just about any way you can. And it's easy.
All right, y'all got any other questions? Run it down there, Randy.
Okay, let's look here. On page 52, we are going to take out professional, be at 0. Audit fees is going to be 0. We're putting that all in a single location. Technical is going to be 0. Water collection fees, we're going to drop down to $100. That's all the changes for water admin.
Works for me.
And it's down from last year too.
Just right at it. All right, water plant operations. That whole first page is set, well, testing, we got testing at the bottom there.
How many
Same.
hours a day is the water plant generated, Ron?
It's typically, between 18 and 20, but more often than not, especially during high demand, it's 24 hours.
And any given day, you've got 3 people there for the 20 hours?
Typically, it's at a minimum of 2, but sometimes there are with the relief.
So the operators are 2 10-hour shifts, basically. What about the department head for that? Where does he fit in? Does he get 8 hours a day or 10?
Currently, he was on a 10-hour schedule, so he's currently been working the Monday through Thursday, 10-hour, and having Friday.
And so that'd be him and one more for that day.
And he fills in the gap for, like, when there's the extra 2 hours, or 4 hours, really, would be. So if they're doing 10 and 10, he'll come in a little bit earlier and fill in the gap for that. So he'll start his day a little bit earlier instead of having to have somebody go over 10.
Then testing, you've dropped that, I'm assuming based on the same premise as the testing in the other ones.
That's correct.
we pay a lot of money for garbage pickup.
We do.
That's what it's like. And off countywide. Better be another enterprise fund, bring in some money.
We just buy our own truck, our own use truck.
Banks County garbage.
You want to keep
We need to look into it. I'm serious.
I mean, it might be worth it, honestly.
One of the most profitable things you can do
Yeah.
is be in the garbage business.
Mm-hmm.
That would be an enterprise fund that would generate revenue for the county.
I wouldn't wanna do it, I wouldn't wanna try to take over residential business from small businesses in the county though. But if it worked to do it, picking our own garbage up,
On that.
Well, how many small businesses are left picking up residential garbage?
mm-hmm. One that I can think of in the
Okay.
county.
One big one, Cooks.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, some point, we may need to look into something like that to generate more revenue.
He's ready,
Do what?
he's ready.
A lot of municipalities do that.
That
That's my
phone
fault.
over here, it's over here somewhere. I
It's
hear it.
mine, right now, it just did it.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, they do. I mean, I
I
know
feel
that they just add the garbage pickup on your water bill, whether you have it or not.
Yeah,
They're gonna charge you for it.
That's
Run that
right.
water bill automatically.
absolutely.
And along, they also put an administrative fee on there as well.
Y'all gonna make
Well,
our
the only way
phones
we
start
can cut
ringing,
the
y'all keep talking about
overtime up
fees.
Now, we're talking about services.
Yeah, okay.
That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about fees, we're talking about services.
Any way we can cut the overtime down?
Yes, I've actually been working on that, and that's why I said a little bit, let's see.
I see Randy's note section, he's got 3 question marks under overtime.
I thought that I had dropped that one.
Randy might have put it back to trend for you, didn't you?
Well, that is one of the things that I'm working on across the board, is, making sure that we're having best use of our time. And that goes for call-outs, that goes for covering shifts, especially weekends. You've got to come in on the weekends, even at the wastewater, you've got to come in for a few hours on Saturday and Sunday to collect samples and stuff. So, we're making sure that the right person is doing that for the most part. And in doing so, that's going to impact the budget in a positive direction.
All right, them on call out though, they guarantee 3 hours minimum. Road department just gets 2.
Mm-hmm.
We need to cut theirs back to either 2 or either.
It's actually 2. So there was someone previously who was giving 3, but when
Back to
they,
2 now?
when they coded, it's 2, and that's what it is now. It's 2 now.
Okay.
I've corrected that already.
Thank
The reason I put those question marks by there is the fact that you've got it at 18.5, but the trend is through February is a lot higher. And I was wanting to make sure that we're in the right ballpark here, because you're looking at what it's running, seems that would be a little bit low. That's why I was asking. But if you've already handled it, that's good.
Yes, no, I realize too, some of this stuff, may seem a little aggressive, but I look at this as almost like a KPI for us to kind of measure our success by. And if we set a target, we should be able to meet that target, and that's what I'm going for here. So, it's definitely one that, you've got a certain amount of it that you're gonna have regardless. There's gonna be things that happen, you're gonna have people working over and stuff, but back to making the best use of the time and the right individuals doing it, and that's part of it, so,
And we're fully staffed, correct?
that's correct.
Buildings, small equipment, ponds. Why did we not have an expense on that in FY '24? Do we know it? Did the line item get created last year, or?
I thought those ponds were usually just scheduled when to get the sludge out, but evidently we just didn't have anything, any expenditures on.
Now, wait a minute, this
get the
is
sludge
water,
out
isn't it? This
24.
ain't wastewater.
That's right.
Well, this, I mean, what you
So-
have at the plant,
Yeah, so the water plant has on Lagoon,
yeah.
essentially
Yeah.
that's for their sludge and stuff.
That's
But evidently they didn't have any that particular year, why they don't have expenses, but I don't know how often you have to, dredge that out of there.
Well, it's based on flow rate for the
Okay.
most part. So, if we're not producing as much, then we're not producing as much, sludge. However, we've been production has been up and at a higher rate for a period of time now. So typically about 18 months, you know, to 2 years would be what it would be, but, we're probably going to need that, you know, once a year, or at least have the opportunity to have that once a year.
Cause we're hammered down making water.
Making water, and, that's definitely something you wouldn't want to get to it and need to do it and then not be able to do it.
Oh, I know that, I know that. You need to get it out and you have a lot of rain, you got a problem.
Yeah,
All right, water tanks. Looks like we have spent a crazy amount over budget this current year. Do we know what led to that?
yes, so, we've actually switched who is doing the maintenance for us on this. Previously, there was, a company that would come out and paint or do whatever, whether it needed it or not. It essentially was one of those things where, hey, it's on the schedule to be painted, we're gonna paint it. You know, there wasn't an assessment done of whether it needed to be painted, whether the paint could go.
Yep.
And now we have that with, the vendor we're currently using now. So this is, an item that actually is going to drop significantly, may even be less than what I've requested.
Who is the new vendor?
If you hadn't asked me, I'd have been able to tell you, but
I knew that we're kicking the can around about changing, and it would save us some money, so that was.
I don't care what we call them, as long as we can call them
That's
cheap.
good. It's,
I can get that for you. It's
that's
just-
fine. I was just gonna, that's not a problem.
All right. Dam maintenance. Looks like we don't maintain the dam too much. We're at 12
Now, there's, at some point, I've heard some costs associated with that come every couple of years. Is that right?
That is correct. So it's kind of like an every other year thing, and really more than the maintenance aspect of it, it's just the getting it signed off,
Yeah.
that everything's good with it, and having that submitted to the state, which was previously done, and it'll be due to come up again this fiscal year. So that's why we're at the 1250 mark.
Okay.
But, you know, from where we're at right now, we're in good shape. So,
Do we, the county do the bush hogging of the dam, or we have to hire that done every couple of years?
So previously, we've had someone else do that. But there again, if we've got a resource within the county that we could use for that, I mean, that would be.
Basically, they use the skid steer with a mower, correct? That's what we have to do away
Pretty
with.
steep out there, pretty steep, isn't it?
Yeah, they'll either use a skid steer or they'll use offset.
Okay. Done on that page?
Yeah.
Training, licenses, supplies, all looks good. Water meters, that's good. Chem and lab supplies. So I'm guessing you think we can be a little more efficient on procurement or use there? Okay, that's down.
Yeah, there's a whole, and I could bore you guys with the details if you want, but there's a whole thing that, you know, inventory and stock management, rotating stock out, not getting a case of this and then realizing it's expired and not being able to use it and having to buy another case. There's a lot of stuff going on there behind the scenes.
Just make it cheap, that's all we care about. Cheap and work.
Cheap and efficient.
Yeah.
You can't make electrical cheap nowadays.
No.
I hate to tell you all this.
We'll get us a fire generator. Or some
Yeah,
solar.
apparently we need to be in the
Water.
power business.
We'll get some solar or something.
Yeah, there's a water turbine up there.
Propane, power is up, and I'm guessing that's just a unavoidable thing, cause we're running it longer, and power rates have gone up. Telephone's gone down, by the way.
Yep.
Beautiful. Gas and diesel, looks like we've been under budgeted in the past, but have we been running the roads more this year than we were last year? Of course, that's hard for you to know, but
I could find out about that. I do know that we had a couple of situations where the generators had run a little bit more than what they've done previously. And then
And they're diesel generators?
we have diesel and propane, but the big ones are diesel.
So is that 7,900 trend on that 5,300, Randy?
It is, right on it, 7970.
Okay. The water purchase number we've got down, is that, what does that do to? Do we know?
Well, I've got a theory on that, and that theory will soon be proven, hopefully. But, you know, we've got a situation where when one side has a little bit lower pressure than the other, there's some backfeeding
Backflow.
potentially taking place. So we actually received a call last month wanting to know if everything was all right, because where we were typically getting about $1 million, we'd only gotten 300,000, and our usage hadn't gone down. So that was a contributing factor, I think, to that being lower, and that's why I kind of still requested, you know, a little bit closer to that 100,000 range,
Okay.
just because once that's corrected, if we still need to purchase that same volume of water, it's going to be accurate.
Have we need to make sure that we're selling water at rate, we've talked about this before, but we need to get that ball rolling immediately.
Yeah, we've got our current IGAs where we're selling water. We're selling it for 20 to 50 cents cheaper per 100 than we're paying for it.
Yeah, and that can't continue,
No.
so we need to get that.
And the way that's happened is where we're buying water, the IGA's written that the rate goes up by CPI every year,
Yeah.
and ours don't.
And it's
where we're
time to
selling, so.
go ahead and roll the dice, and, I mean, just move forward on the, I didn't know what she was at.
Oh, I did.
But anyway, on our, some other costs, such as some fees on, that we've discussed to get
So
up.
when it basically Homer, and of course Maysville's still not pulling right now, correct?
No, he calls me about once a week,
Yeah.
and, you know, curious where we're at.
But we
so,
just, we don't have the pressure or the capacity to give them any right now.
Yeah.
So Homer's our biggest customer of water.
Another thing I was alluding to is wastewater, some of the things we're treating. We need to make sure that that cost is in line, and there's no reason to wait any longer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's needs to go ahead and.
How
start
many
making-
gallons a month is Homer buying average?
Up to 5 million I've seen.
Yeah, it's definitely, you know, averaging 3.5 to 4 million up to 5.
So let's say 4 million is the number. 4 million. All right, we're buying it for $3.30 per thousand? No,
No,
we're
we're
selling
paying-
it for $3.30 a thousand.
Homer's paying $3.
$3 a thousand. All right, and we're paying what?
We're paying about $3.49 for it.
$3.49. All right, so it wouldn't take Randy just a minute to figure it 4 million.
We're
3,000.
leaving close to
49
$3.5
cents.
or $350,000 a year on the table.
Why are we selling for less than we're buying?
Well, it's always been done, Danny.
That's the way it has been.
Friends and family discount?
Well,
It hasn't caught up. I mean, time hasn't caught up. And
Our original IGA that they done several years ago, when we purchased the water, it was a base rate, and it went up every so often. And the county part with Homer and Maysville, it never has changed.
Why did we not know that?
Evidently, it was,
but that will be rectified shortly.
Yes. And then
It needs to
renewing
be.
the IGA, you know, have it in there so that as our costs increase, we reserve the right to increase costs as well.
Yep.
That way, you don't have that lapse.
Are we gonna at least be attempting to get this changed by?
Oh, yeah.
Fiscal
Well,
year?
in the next week or two.
Okay, good deal, good deal. Greatly appreciated.
I've got to get Mayor Doug Cheek to answer my phone call. So Doug, if you're watching, please call me back. All right, you wanna run it down, Randy?
Even though we got the contract, it's costing us is going up, you know, but, by the fifteenth of next month, their rate's already increased.
And that's not just the water factor, that's not the only one, because, you know, we're not trying to be unfair on that, because the city of Homer residents are our residents too.
Yes,
you
but
know. But Chad, do you know, we've got to be getting close to our estimated capacity on our water system, are we not?
We're there.
Yeah.
We are treating max, are we not?
I'm just talking about the estimated meters. I know
Yeah.
where we're at, you know, in water, but we were estimated at 4,000 meters 15, 20 years ago when this whole process started. And now we're there. So, I mean,
yeah, yeah.
we can't just keep going. We gotta,
But that's one reason, you know, we've been looking at whales and other things just to keep us going in case we have a problem.
Well, now-
If that plant goes down up there for 2 days, we were just about to deplete our system. Correct?
I don't think it'd take 2 days.
I don't either. But we have, there's a couple of different opportunities that I've been exploring and researching. And I plan to share those with you, possibly within the next day or so, just some things that we can do that's gonna really help us out. Now, some of them, it's gonna take a little bit of work to get them. Some of them may be quicker than others, so we can, you know, kind of look and see which one to attack first. But we've got some options for addressing this issue. It's probably one of the biggest things that bothers me is just thinking about folks that are paying for water and then periods of the day or certain times they don't have water, and are adjusting their life to when they have water.
Or minimum pressure.
Exactly.
Yeah, for fire protection and for human consumption.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So
having small kids at home.
if you've got a tap, you should be able to have water at adequate pressure anytime, day or night.
Right.
We're gonna get
I
there for
agree.
everybody.
That's one of all of our pet peeves up here, I'm sure. So,
Well, you got your job cut out for you, and so far, for what I've seen, what you've done, I think we made a good choice.
we appreciate what you're striving for. We do.
We got our work cut out for us for sure, but it's definitely, something that is obtainable, and it will be, so.
All right, you wanna run
I didn't think.
water plant?
find
Yeah, I
any
think
changes.
it's
We
all
didn't
the
make any
same, ain't it?
changes on the phone.
Nothing changed.
But
Yep.
he's still coming nearly $30-something thousand cheaper than what it was last year.
now we gotta know.
Yep.
Well, this one may be a little different.
This may be the last. No, it looks good.
No, it's good. Could give him another apartment too.
I'll trim them up for you. Lean 6.
We had nicknamed him as the Doge of Homer.
Some of the
Main Street idea.
ideas that I've heard that he's
Give
come
him
up
that
with,
title.
I've wondered why I didn't think of.
Because you weren't in water.
Yeah, that's right, but there's a couple ideas that I've heard that he's floated around that I think's excellent ideas.
Yes. I think we made the right choice.
All right, does this, department head number need to change due to the new hire?
No, we
Okay.
were able to, keep that the same.
Okay. This next line, the maintenance and construction, is that all salary, or is any of our outside contractors included in that line item, or it's all salary?
Oh, salary.
Okay. Overtime, insurance, rest of that pay, or no, we got testing, $50. Garbage pickup, y'all got any questions on the first page?
I know.
Tires and tubes. How many trucks do we have on that?
So that one, we have 5. Dump truck, the F-550, which is the maintenance service truck, 2 F-250s and an F-150.
Yep, that probably needs to stay at 3 then.
And also, you're in pretty good shape with Mike at the road department. Y'all can swap equipment around or whatever you need.
Yes.
They work together real good.
Vehicle and equipment, good. Small equipment. What kind of things would be on that?
So that is our quick cut saws and some of the specialty tools have been put in under that, like hydrant setter or some of the tapping apparatuses and parts of the tapping machine replacement if needed, which we're still good there. Weed eaters, they do have a couple of weed eaters, so it's typically stuff like that.
All right.
A good shovel probably costs $60.
Yep. All right. If we skip all those little ones and get down to water system repairs, is that any of the contractor
What
costs?
they use
Do we-
So that right there has been, the bulk of that has been when we have went out and purchased the supplies. So, you know, the brass, the hydrants themselves, the meters that came out of that as well.
Okay.
So that's what that goes for. And a little carryover to the pipes and pipe and fittings as
Yeah.
well.
Okay.
Tried to segregate that out a little bit just because of how expensive some of the brass and associated parts are.
Yeah.
Excuse me, versus your just straight PVC ductile.
Mm-hmm.
We can keep some of those, upgrading the meters and things of that nature and use that for sparse ones, where we keep that in
Yep.
our minds.
Office expense, uniforms, y'all got any more questions on that page? Water, propane. Electricity, are we sure 8's gonna cover whatever we're doing right there?
Yes. Unless something crazy happens, but the previous and the trend that I've seen with that, I feel comfortable with 8.
Okay.
That propane don't look right, I ain't gonna lie to you.
Might not be no propane-ish going on over there.
Well, they got a 298 through February.
Yeah.
They got
Had
222
222 the year
before.
before.
That was a one-time fill-up for the winter.
We gotta feel they gonna have another winter this year, bro.
That's right. You're
They
right.
keep coming around.
But
We hope, we hope we do.
Hey, ALP cost has dropped though. Didn't you see the bids?
I don't know how much the LP cost was last year. I seen bids, but I don't know if that's cheaper than it was last year.
It is. I assure you.
But anyway, that's $200 and we
Let's
got.
put 300 on propane, make Chris feel better.
I mean, what's trend on that propane, Red?
That's one of them things I don't think you can trend it.
I don't think you can either, it's kind of like a one-time deal.
It's not really a monthly expense.
Another thing, when they pick them tanks up, where how much propane left in them, we get a check back. on that propane.
I can trend that myself. 222 and 298. It's both higher than 200.
That's why I'm set the thermostat to 65 in the winter.
Is that what you're gonna do? You can drop it
82 in the summer.
As long as it's above freezing, we'll be all right.
Yeah, just don't, we're just trying to keep the pipes from freezing.
Never mind. Let's see how much money he can save. Leave that
Let's do
alone.
it.
People need to be outside. You got a jacket.
I'm gonna make a note right here to test you on this.
Yeah. Come back and see how much you
See how
spend on
much you
propane
use.
next
That's
year.
right. No, propane test next year.
I need to prepare. If it goes over that, I'll just come out of my pocket.
There you go. Yeah.
Just hide.
Just,
Go out,
The trend of those
build
is
your fire
260.
somewhere,
260.
260.
hot coals.
All right,
That's it.
telephone, you think that's about right? Seems like it.
Looks like,
I'm happy. Y'all happy?
It's down.
Do we have a hard line over at the office, water distribution?
Yes, we do.
Do you really need one?
No, because anytime I try to get them, it's
Just
on the
use
cell
cell
phone.
phone?
What about internet? Do we have internet over there?
We do have.
I mean, I'm sure those cell phones are tied into that 3,500 a year, but the hard line's probably, I think it's 135.
Do you still have to have a hard line for internet anymore?
On what we're on, I don't know. Wouldn't-
You don't,
Well, Gumby told me,
necessarily, you don't necessarily.
I talked to him up before one day, if you can see the tower, where you in line so many miles of tower, you have internet. Tower up here at 911, because I've asked about changing my home over.
Yeah. Well, we're deep diving our phone and internet situation anyway, so.
And right now, we'll evaluate that as a whole.
what's that, principal capital lease, is that a computer?
No, there's nothing in there.
Nothing there.
Nothing, that was actual before, and there's nothing in there now?
All right, now the last conversation we need to have on utilities is we're gonna have 4 months worth of GFA payments this coming year, cause they're deferred right now, but there will be 4 months this fiscal year. Where are we gonna show those?
Well, I've been trying to work on that. I'll have to come up with a solution of how y'all wanted to resolve that. Right now, the money is going into public utilities account, all of it's going there, which is included. The GFA loans are lined up and designed where they actually come back out of those accounts. ACH, they'll draft them out right back out of those accounts, once they start back the same way.
So there'll be roughly a little under, but almost $800,000 next year that gets pulled out on account of those 4 GFA loan payments. Or those 4 months worth of GFA loan payments.
I would say so.
Might well put it in now.
It needs to be shown. I mean, it's gonna be spent. Hate to ruin your budget, Chad, but.
I was doing so good.
Cause they're gonna come out, but we need to know exactly how much the payments are. And I guess we could just email them and ask them, what are these payments gonna be, March, April, May, June?
We can, they would know.
Okay, cause we need those shown in here, in that wastewater. That way, when we go to figuring revenues, we can see where we're gonna land.
Yeah, that would be the place you'd probably keep, the loans in. Although probably a few of them might be due to, adding in distribution, but for what little that would be, it would.
Yeah. So let's get an email from GFA on exact dollar amount of those 4 payments that'll come due. And let's get those in wastewater, that way when we're figuring revenues, we can tell
Go
what we
ahead.
got and where it's
Well,
coming
let's just
from.
line item that by itself.
That's, yeah, I want a GFA loan line item right there, or debt service line item, or whatever it needs to be labeled, but something that shows those GFA loans.
Just to keep it.
Cause that's where it'll be coming out of.
And I'd like to know what it's gonna cost us, because we have a definite number on the deferring this. Just so I can keep up with what this is, I don't know how we could put a number on what this has cost us, because revenue generated right now,
Lost revenue.
yeah, and I mean, it's,
Could be astronomical.
Not to mention the continued engineering and consultant fees associated with trying to remedy it.
and I don't know how we could be liable for those.
You're probably gonna have to have the GFA loans change from that, from utilities coming out of the, changing, coming out of the general fund to make sure you had enough money transferred from the public utilities revenue account to maintain the payment of those loans in the general fund. Yes.
Because this is general fund,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and that it's coming out of
And
the
then we can make adjustments of how much the public utilities actually can, up and above that, contribute to the general fund.
Mm-hmm.
What it's gonna have to work. But we got time to get that
And,
changed.
and some of these price
Okay.
increases will contribute to that we're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, I'm confident we can increase revenue in other ways than property taxes by probably $600,000 next year.
Yeah,
And that's not doing anything groundbreaking. That's minor increments on high volume.
And not affecting the citizens.
Not affecting citizens, yeah.
Have you seen a jump in you mentioned your brass supplies and your meters and all, have you seen astronomical jump yet since you tariffs has went in and all, yet?
I'm actually, it's funny you mention that, because I've got an invoice for some things that we need, just got a quote on it, just kind of see what it's gonna cost. And I was really wanting to compare that to one previously, because it just seemed really, really high. And I don't know if that's just what it has been running, or if it's associated with something else, but, the quote that I got last week actually for, just, some saddles and fittings and just associated things for distribution was astronomical. I'm talking $11,000 for stock supplies.
They are a lot of you businesses in things like that who are just astronomically inflating what's in stock now, on items.
And that's why I wanted to compare with the previous one, because if that's taking place here, I'm gonna call them out on it, and if they don't adjust it, there's plenty of other suppliers, so.
What is our repairs on our fire hydrants looking like?
So they, currently, we've got a bit of a backlog of some work orders that they are trimming down significantly. But with that, they're doing a hydrant a week right now. My goal is to get that bumped up to daily, but we have taken on doing the repairs that we know need to be made, and then working in assessments on some of the others, so that we have a holistic look at what our hydrant system looks like. Because previously, there's not been a hydrant maintenance flushing plan, nor a valve exercising plan. And in the past 2 weeks, we've ran into two separate situations where both of those programs would have prevented what we had to deal with, so.
Chris brought up a good point on our hookups. When the system was implemented, he was looking at 4,000. We're pretty close to it now. When we hit that mark,
We're actually over, because one of the taps listed on one of our taps is the tap of the town of Homer, with a whole lot of taps. So we're far and above that 4,000 that was estimated.
with that being said, if we're not still continuously doing taps, what is our maintenance crew gonna be doing once we're called up?
Maintenance.
Well, I'm just asking him.
Well, with,
Huh?
in
Yeah.
a perfect world, with
Right.
everything caught up and just your negligible amount of, breaks here and there, a full-scale hydrant, valve exercise, and a flushing program, I've calculated it to be essentially a month for the entire system, and then you start it all over again the next month, and that's how those work. So you do a zone a week, and I've got it broken up into 4 zones, and so at the end of the month, they'll start back over with the next zone again. And it's a little bit more time if in doing that, you find that, the foot valve on this one's messed up, or, they're not gonna write that up and save it for later. They're gonna go ahead and address the issue and then keep going with
with you saying that, do you feel like we would probably be better off if we subbed out our water taps and have your guys doing what you just explained to us and working on hydrants and stuff?
Right now, I feel like they're gonna be able to handle it. I think the workload is not gonna be so much so that it would warrant subbing that out. You know, we could grow to a potential where that might be necessary, but I don't see that right now. We do have a couple of instances where we are gonna need some help on a couple of situations just due to the depth of the pipe and kind of where it's located and stuff. But for the most part, they're gonna be able to handle it.
He's doing right now in the last couple of weeks, way more than they done in the last couple of months. On repair and stuff on account of
Oh,
the
yeah.
changes that was made recently.
At what point, Chad, do we become irresponsible continuing to put meters in, knowing we're getting over where we need to be?
I would say right now, I mean, we're definitely getting to a point to where we should pause pretty much altogether with new taps until we have a few of these solutions implemented, just to keep us from getting into worse shape. You know, I mean, the last thing you want is to bring on 4 or 5 folks on a road and then none of them have water. And they've now built a house and they've got a tap and they're, excited about moving here and living here, and they can't live because they don't have water. So I definitely don't want that to ever be something that is occurring, so.
Do you think we need to advertise, or your department advertise and say as of theoretically May 15th or May 10th, we will stop adding new taps to our Banks County water system?
Now, there's some legal implications we'd have to have considered there too, but.
Yeah, I've been cautious about bringing that up because there's some small changes that we're in the process of getting made now that I think may have a greater impact. So I haven't been ready to just,
Stop it off.
hit the emergency stop button, but.
And what he's talking about there, because we've talked about it some, is not really increasing capacity, it's being more efficient with the capacity we have. So there's some areas of the county that never have a water issue. But then you got some areas where we may have some weird valving or line
Or-
size or something like that
Yeah.
that's causing some issues.
Or several areas in the county has a big main, then it's narrowed down, then it jumps back up. You're not gonna get that water volume back up there, not until you take that section and loop it or replace it or something.
Well, that's one thing too. When you've got a county, as big as Banks, with the distribution system as wide as it is,
And gravity fed.
you really need, you need the availability to have an entire loop, which we don't currently have. But within your loop, you need the availability to actually have reverse flow so that you've got redundancy. Because if you've got an issue on this side, instead of half the county losing water, you can close it off and then you can feed back this side. We don't have that opportunity. But everything that I've seen so far, the biggest issues that we're having are on the roads where we have, a 6 or an 8-inch main and then it drops down to a 2. And with the taps that are on those roads now versus what they were, say, 5-10 years ago, there's not enough volume to
Volume
sustain
flow
that.
pushing it.
And then if you've got a big user that is cranking up, it's pulling it, because water's gonna go the path of least resistance, so. But there are things right now, even before we start putting shovels in the ground, that we can kind of correct with that. But I've identified several sections that we are gonna need to increase the pipe size.
But by doing that, that would eliminate us having to put some kind of booster pump to do the pressure.
In one of the areas, yes. In one of the areas, by just upsizing the pipe and then connecting it, because you've got, a 3-inch coming in on this side and a 2-inch coming in on that side, and they don't meet. If you take a 6-inch and run it all the way through, you've got a small loop. So with that small loop, you won't need the booster pump. But there's at least one area right now where I feel like it'd be advantageous to consider a booster pump.
And is that an area that we're getting calls on of low or no pressure?
It's right at the edge of that area, which it's at the bottom of it. So by having it, it should
Yeah.
increase that.
Now, the mentions been on wells, what kind of time frame would we be looking at on running it through and getting the actual well hooked up in the system? Getting it approved and all, what kind of time frame?
Are we talking about a current well?
A current well,
A current well?
yes.
So with that, it's gonna depend on a couple of factors as far as how fast you can go through with it. If you've got any of the information on the design and build of the well, the type of casing it has, those are some of the key components. Then you've got to do your studies as far as flow, and then of course the sample. So now the flow, the 24-hour test, that can be done super quick. You could probably schedule that within a week or so. After that, you can get your testing done on it, about a week for your testing, but the casing is a big issue, making sure that it has the proper casing that
It's
it'll meet
gotta
the
have a steel
specifications.
case.
And then one thing we gotta keep in mind that I don't think we considered when we were looking at these wells is the pressure of the system where you'll be tying that well in. Because
That's right.
if the pressure's insane right there, it's just gonna fill the well up instead of taking well water and putting it in the system,
Right, you don't
so.
have to go into the well.
Yep. So,
But there are some opportunities to use wells in other ways even. A large industrial, commercial user that
anybody using non-potable,
using non-potable, you could set them up with a well or have a well feed to them, and that be their
Well,
dedicated
and also, like, Dad and them own the water system here at home, and they would just randomly drill here and there and I'll hook them in. And not offsetting what you're saying, Taylor, but by us not having booster pumps in our system by gravity, it will pull that water into your system better by not having booster pumps in your lines.
if the pressures line up.
Right.
Yeah. All right, y'all got any more questions on
Huh?
utilities?
No, we're good.
We through.
All right,
Thank you.
sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Chad, thank you.
Thank you, Chad.
Thank
What
you,
else
sir.
do we have, Randy? Oh, okay.
You wanna do them right quick?
Yeah,
Don't know yet.
very easy.
All right, need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
And I
Got a
second
motion.
that motion to
Got a
adjourn.
motion by Keith, second by Danny. Keith?
Aye.
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 We're adjourned.
No.
No, it was just